Hi everyone, and welcome to FourEyedMonster Miniatures, my YouTube channel that's home to pre-painted figure unboxing and reviews, as well as rarer showcases of my own custom painted scale model kit projects, which I admittedly haven't worked on in quite a while. That being still the case, today's video takes a look at a pre-painted figure of 02 from Darling in the Franxx. She is from a mid-tier figure lineup under the Good Smile Company Pop-Up Parade Standard Size series, whose price range roughly around 4,800 yen to 6,500 yen. This standard size version of Darling in the Franxx main heroine sees 02 attired in her unique dress uniform, and is one of two versions in the Pop-Up Parade figure lineup. The other version of 02 sees her in a glossy red pilot uniform and is found only in the L size or large size version of the Pop-Up Parade figure lineup, which is about 6 centimeters taller. And while the L size figure is packaged in a glossy opaque cardboard box, the standard size version is in the now familiar all-clear plastic box with cardboard inserts placed on the lower thirds of the front and sides, while the back and bottom are fully covered. Such a configuration allows us a fairly unobstructed view of the 02 figure inside, as the plastic blisters holding it in place are also transparent. Anyway, let's get on with the unboxing and unwrapping ASMR, with the commentary to resume when the 02 figure is ready for her once-over or close-up examination. In line with the majority of the standard size pop-up parade figures I've reviewed, the 02 dress uniform figure comes as a complete whole, save for the extraneous base that it will need to attach to for display purposes. Even at a glance, the dress uniform version of 02 from Darling in the Franxx clearly ticks all the boxes, at least the bare minimum requirements of what a collector looks for. Accurate color scheme check, clean paintwork check, decent sculpt quality and proportions check, recognizable likeness to the anime character check, iconic character attire check. I could go on and on, but you get the picture. But because this is a mid-tier figure that's still at an affordable, if not exactly budget price point, manufacturing cost realities does manifest itself in three key areas. First, a simple, uncomplicated pose that's boring to look at, which Good Smile Company cleverly mitigates by adopting iconic character poses. Second, flat, unshaded colors, which is partly mitigated by the clean paintwork. And lastly, a bare bones display base that is the bane of all pop-up parade figures, which remains unresolved until today. In 02's case, this is a simple black round base that serves minimal visual function. Anyway, that's my segue to the short and simple assembly ASMR section, which you can skip using the timestamp I put up on the screen. Looking at the Pop-Up Parade 02 dress uniform version figure in its entirety, we can see 02 adopting a fairly static and stiff back pose that's accentuated by her right arm being held straight down her side. This rigidity in posture is only broken slightly by her right leg bent backwards to balance her outstretched left arm. Good Smile Company did its best to break up the static nature of 02's pose, which I believe results from manufacturing cost concerns of the Pop-Up Parade standard size lineup that seeks to make their mid-tier figures affordable. This they do by introducing pronounced curved lines to the figure's overall geometry through her long pink hair that's flaring out behind her back. It works to a certain extent as it helps break up the straight lines of her posture. Standing at 17 centimeters in height from head to toe, the figure falls within the average standard size series dimensions and sports a fairly good shelf presence. In terms of color scheme, this 02 figure is certainly accurately represented in her red, white and black dress uniform with patches of grey and orange. Of the colors mentioned, red is the most prominent, being the color most associated with the character. The other bright hue of orange is found on her necktie, shoulder cord and boots. And then of course there's her signature light pink hair rounding up the color scheme. I tend to discount skin tone from the initial color scheme analysis because I consider it a figure's base color that's always present amidst the hue variations that can be added to the figure later via hair and clothing attire. In 02's case, I'm pretty blasé about her skin tone because it's flat and unshaded, with the fingernails unpainted. But it's actually not much of an issue because so little of her skin tone is showing anyway. From this upper half view of 02, the characteristic that stands out the most is her facial features. It has good details on her green eyes as well as a nicely sculpted and painted tongue that's sticking out slightly in a cheeky expression. Most importantly, the combination of features give her a good likeness factor to her anime counterpart. Of course, the two red horns on her head help sell the resemblance. Apart from that, the upper half view also affords us with a close-up and detailed look at 02's iconic dress uniform, which makes up for its flat colors with a detailed and clean paintwork. For example, the various little details on her dress uniform, such as the orange tie and shoulder cord, the black buttons and belt, etc., were cleanly painted, all the way to the tiniest details, such as the metallic gold insignia on her upper shoulder. And then there is 02's long flowing hair that admittedly has some form of shading contrary to the general figure, in the form of darker pink for the shadowed areas, opposing the very light pinks for the highlights. Other than that distinction, her hair also differentiates itself from the figure in general by adopting curved lines in its scalp and build, as opposed to the straight lines of her general posture. And it's a bonus that in doing so, the long hair not only looks dynamic, but more importantly, it looks natural in the flow of the locks of hair. As for the lower half of this 02 dress uniform figure, the combination of black leggings and a pair of predominantly white boots with orange stripes and black soles and buttons complements the red dress uniform extremely well and completes her iconic military look. Here, the leggings and boots, while plain, perfectly serves its purpose of a military uniform. Meanwhile, the display base is even plainer, comprising just a small round black piece of plastic. Such simple display bases, for better or worse, has become a hallmark of most pop-up parade figures. Yet Goodsma company did do the right thing with this plain display base, that is, they kept its footprint small. I believe this is the only way to make plain display bases work, i.e. by giving them a small size or footprint. Otherwise, they become an eyesore. While Darling in the Franxx is arguably a mainstream anime series, despite its short 24-episode one-season run, it doesn't quite hit the popularity levels of others in the same genre, like Neon Genesis Evangelion. As such, the number of pre-painted figure versions available in the collectibles market are pretty limited. This is something I felt a need to highlight as to provide some context to how differently a fan might view this figure versus a non-fan. Personally, while I enjoyed the Darling in the Franxx series a lot, I would count myself only as a casual rather than a die-hard fan. And this is what the Pop-Up Parade series excels at brilliantly. While pre-painted figures from this Goodsma company series have been associated with overly boring poses and plain display bases, they have largely focused on core characteristics that resonate with collectors familiar with the subject matter at hand. For example, a high lightness factor, accurate color scheme through a clean albeit flat paintwork, iconic poses relatable to the anime character, and lastly, selective sculpt design that functions to mitigate the boring pose, as in Zero Two's hair as I mentioned earlier. All that I've mentioned largely applies to this Pop-Up Parade dress uniform version of Zero Two, resulting in a figure that, while it isn't going to win any awards, is still deserving of a place on the display shelf, be it of a casual fan or otherwise. Before I give Zero Two her rating, there is one additional characteristic of her pose I haven't mentioned before that has grown on me, and I would like to highlight it now. It is how Zero Two's outstretched left arm and hand seems to be interacting with the collector that's viewing her head-on from the front, seemingly beckoning you to hold her hand and join her on an adventure. In a way, this gesture, coupled with her wavy long hair, adds the sorely needed dynamism into an otherwise stiff posture. With that little tidbit out of the way, let's now get to the rating of Pop-Up Parade's dress uniform version of Zero Two, which I'm giving a B rank or the platinum rating. Most of the better looking versions of Zero Two are the pricier, upper tier pre-painted scale figures, though even so, the mid and budget tier ones are pretty good for their price point, as is the case for this version. Zero Two in a dress uniform won't exactly stand head and shoulders above one's figure collection, yet she wouldn't be a bad looking addition either. Well, we have reached the end of this review of the standard size Pop-Up Parade version of Zero Two. Please do leave a like and subscribe once you're done. Thank you for watching. Until your next visit, be well and be happy. Bye bye for now.